Hello, and a big welcome to all of you out there who are seeing this and listening. Today we have a special guest here, Justin Dunn. Welcome to you.
Well,
It's,
thank you, Anne. I appreciate that.
it's really exciting to have you here today, and I think we have a lot of things to talk about. So please just start to tell us about your life. How did you get into horses and what you are today?
Well, I got into horses probably before I was born because my dad had a horse and my grandparents had horses. And as I grew older, about the age of 5, that was far back as I could remember, I've been with horses. And I found horses to be the sanctuary, the strength, the guidance, the place to go for solitude, place to go for wisdom, and just a real feeling of realness in life.
Yeah, I agree with you. So you start to riding or what did you start with? Just connecting or
Well, at the age of 5, my parents divorced, and it's a very traumatizing time in my life. And the two people I love the most, they separated, and then two
mm,
new people came into the picture, and it wasn't always harmony and balance. So I went to horses to get harmony and balance, and found a love for horses and horsemanship at such a young age that it just continued to today. I had my first horse for first 14 years of my life. He passed away at 29 years old, and then throughout the years acquired more relationships with horses. And each relationship prepared me for different times in my life. Maybe not at that particular moment, but in a lot of cases it was that particular moment. But also later in life, preparation for circumstances or situations that I would find myself in. I had a unique survival skill that I had developed, and relationships with horses, having a relationship with horses, observing them, interacting with them on much higher levels than traditional training practices ever showed. And as a child, I didn't really know how to train a horse, but intuitively I could get them to do things with me for me that I'm not sure anyone could train them to do. Uh,
mhm.
so it was very interesting to be able to harmonize with horses at a very young age and find that I had a unique ability developed with them that would help me away from them, out in society, with other people, going through life in the human element, I refer to it as. And it's a gift. It's a gift horses give us if we will open to it. And today I try to share that with people here at my school and on the other society, the online society we're on today.
Yeah. So you have a school, you said.
Yeah,
Yeah?
yeah, I call it American Mustang School. It stems from the American Mustangs. I specialize in wild horses, the Mustang horse.
Yeah.
And I like the wild horse because they taught me the most about myself. And I've been playing with Mustangs for almost 20 years now. And it's gotten to the point where they hold a key that humanity, in my opinion, really needs. And that's the key to nature, finding out the secrets nature keeps from us when we're not open to nature. A wild horse is born in nature. They are nature. We are nature. And when those harmonize and interconnect, there's growth and development that'll take place that you can't get in just society. You can't get just in the human element. There's a lot of laws of nature that pre-exist us coming to Earth. You know, a lot of people before us found them, put them together. They're just not seem to be talked about in the horse community, definitely not in the horse industry, you know, perpetuated by money. But the things I like to share about what I've learned with wild Mustang horses, you know, and when I say wild, I don't mean ungentle because they're gentle. I don't mean the typical, you know, crazy wild. I mean uninterrupted by man, like a wild flower.
Yeah.
We didn't plant the flower out there in nature. It grows on its own. The horse represents the same. So horses develop survival skills very early on that a domestic horse doesn't have to do. Domestic horse is independent on man. A wild horse is not. And the difference becomes very apparent in creating a relationship. And the things that have atrophied in a domestic horse have not in a wild horse. So they're readily accessible in interaction with them, done correctly. And I developed this school to do just that. I want to share with people that there is a secret to horsemanship that a lot of people will never discover. And if people don't know, they could never share it. So that's my job. I'm speaking for the horses when I say I want to share information with people that could grow and develop into something much better, um, attain something not easily attainable through the practices of wild Mustang horsemanship. And that's what I want to share.
Yeah, and that's a difficult one because you can't measure your feelings, but well, you can see on the horse when you connect somehow.
Yeah, so horses will reflect in their body what they're thinking in their mind. I developed a way to ask horses questions through mechanical means of just asking with pressure as a question, release as a thank you, but not going in with the mindset of intimidation or domination or control. I cannot control a horse. They're much too powerful. They're 1,000-pound muscle. I learned many years ago that is futile, foolish to do that. It's not conducive to developing or unlocking or asking the horse to reveal to us these secrets I speak of, because they can't be forced or taken. They have to be attracted. The law of nature says, law of attraction says, we attract what we are. And if we're kind and loving, we will attract that. And horses pick up on that. They share the four things we do: thoughts and emotion, which is inner pathway of communication. Attitude and action is an outer pathway of communication. So whenever we understand that, we actually have the ability to access information others that don't understand that would never access. So horses abiding in these laws of nature, they understand what we're after when we align with the laws, when we align those four things within ourselves: thoughts, emotion, attitude, action, and we present to them something so true and honest, ourself, they are willing to they're willing to partner with that, because that's what they do in the wild with each other. They they've developed survival skills in that because they understand harmony, which is agreement with nature. And if we go through the laws of nature, we'll just go through a few of them because to speak of all of them would probably take 10 hours.
Yeah.
But the law of divine oneness, where it says we're all interconnected, we're all one humans, animals, earth, the heavens. So nature says we're all one. What we think and do has an effect on ourselves. What we think and do has an effect on others. So it's an inner outer relationship, uh, an earthly, heavenly relationship, above, below relationship. Those laws are the governing ordinances that go both places, inner and outer, above and below. So when we know them, we can at least implement them and see if they're true. And then the horses don't lie. So when we do align with them and we present them, the horses will either be attracted to us or repelled. That's just the truth. And we have the ability to, through free will, make changes and present again. So I always tell myself and then others, present what you expect. You know, you present yourself to the horse and be willing to change, be open to change. Um, that is development and growth that we want, and the horses pick up on that. They're an accountability partner without judgment. They will actually help guide us to become better with no judgment. And that is a really profound feeling, a profound opportunity to have, because I'll speak for America. We have 330 million people, maybe more, but there's only 9 million horses. So having access to that information is not readily available for a lot of people. So for a person to line up with laws of nature for one, and then have the ability to present to something so magnificent as a horse that will give us instant feedback and allow us to see cause and effect, another law of nature, in the moment, and then compound over time for the overarching big picture of what the law of cause and effect is. We have the ability to change and grow and master ourselves through the guidance of horses. And that's what's so fascinating to me, what's so addicting to me.
Yeah. What do you reckon? Is it easier to see the truth through a wild horse or a domestic horse? Is
Well,
there a difference there?
I'm not sure we say easier to see truth, because we can see truth in domestic horses and wild horses. Just for me, wild horses, they help me the most, learn the most about myself. Um, I've always considered myself a rebel. I want freedom. I don't want to be a slave. I don't want slaves. I don't want to master anyone. I don't want to be mastered. So my whole existence was freedom. I want freedom. And the wild horse truly represented that for me. And they wouldn't sell out, so to speak, like a domestic horse would through domestication. Um, so the wild horse, I had to earn their partnership. I had to create willingness in them, whereas a domestic horse already had willingness. So let me just pause for a moment, direct attention to levels. Everyone is at a different level in life of understanding. Horses are at different levels, domestic horses, wild horses, and then in those, there's different levels of understanding there as well. There's different individuals, so they're not all the same. They're not cookie cutter type animal. They're, you know, in the wild horse community, there's all kinds of different horses, individuals, same with domestic. So defining it easier to get the truth, if I was to define it that way, I think the wild horse is easier to get the truth because they demand that I change and become something better to earn their willingness. Um, A domestic horse, it actually would be a little more difficult because I wouldn't step up to a level that required creating willingness. So it's kind of one of those things. It's an opinion probably, or it's subjective. It's a matter of what level a person's at, what level that individual horse is at, whether they're domestic or wild. I would like to think that person can find the truth in domestic, and I have, so I know this is true. I've come into traumatized domestic horses situations a lot, through horse rescues and client horses. A traumatized domestic horse, you've got to be on your game. You've got to go inward and present outward and be willing to change for this individual if you ever want to create willingness in them to partner and to reveal to you what we need to become to help them become through a transition of where they are to where they want to be, where we are and where we want to be. And it's those laws of nature are the only way that I've been able to discover and master myself, but also create willingness in another individual horse or person to help them discover what they need to master themselves. So it's very interesting when we both are in agreement, which is harmony, and balance, where it's not one-sided me or too far-sided them, horse or other human, and a balance in that. It's an equal across the playing field, so to speak, where the horse or another person gets a voice in the relationship. It can't be just one way. I call it a feedback loop. I'm going to present something. I'm going to observe feedback from them, and then they're going to present something, and then they're going to get feedback from me. And then we get a feedback loop going to where outside influences have little to no effect on our four things I talk about in my book: thoughts, emotions, attitude, action. The horse shares in those four things as well. And through reflections of their body, we can tell what they're thinking and feeling. If a horse is tense and high-headed and eyes wide, nostrils flaring, short, shallow breathing, we know that their thinking is not in a desirable manner. So it's up to us, if we're inviting them correctly into the human element, to change that. We've got to change their thoughts. Their thoughts can't be creating tensions in their body. So I've developed here at American Mustang School a way to trigger body responses of relaxation, to release that tension and to free up restrictions in the mind, which are doubt, fear, confusion, anxiety, any of the lower level consciousness um, thoughts to eliminate undesirable behaviors. When we do that, the horses pick up on what we're doing because their brain is monitoring their body system. And if they're thinking in association of the human, us, helping them be comfortable when they're not, a simple law of nature, law of attraction, states that they will be attracted to us by default for survival. It's not anything that I can force them to do. It's not anything that I can take from them to make them do. It's I have to change, become attractive by doing those things for them, with them, not necessarily to them. So we could go into that, but the horse recognizes very quickly what our intentions are, what our purposes are, and then they will step up and do things I cannot train them to do. The laws of nature are there for us to abide in, and when we align with them, horses resonate with that through law of vibration. The vibrations are recognized: the higher frequency vibration, a lower frequency vibration, a happy, a sad. They pick up on that. I know this to be true because I've watched thousands of people with my own horses over the, couple of decades, and a lot of them were children. And children don't lie. When they get with horses, they reveal themselves in truth. And the horses, they will draw to that, and they will do things I can't train them to do. And they will reveal to me the power of lining in the laws of nature. And that's what I really love to talk about these days and share here at American Mustang School. And it's a life-changing information that can be applied for growth and development, overcoming a lot of things people have struggled with.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah.
I
And
don't want to talk the entire time, ramble on.
yes, just do. It's so interesting because you can put word on it. Mostly this is feelings that you can't talk about like this, but you say it in a fantastic way. And it's
Thank
like
you.
it's like I was sitting and thinking it's like when two people are in love and one of them is trying to hello I'm here and then you get a connection and that is almost the same with the horses.
Yes, I'm thankful that you brought up the word love because that's the key. We have to love ourselves and we have to go inward, and it'll help us deal or manage outward. So when we focus on love, it's a verb and it's something we do. The horses see it, feel it, pick up on it, and they know love. So when we focus on love and we love ourselves, we care about ourselves, they see that, feel that, understand that. They will rise up to, and I don't want to call it a challenge to mislead anyone, but they get interested, and it's something they are attracted to because it's a feeling of joy when they can be a part of contribution or contributing to the betterment or the enrichment of life. Every life form that I've ever studied wants to serve. You know, the carrot wants to serve the rabbit, and on and on. The horse wants to serve. They are just, and this is wild horses I speak of, they're just fine out there in nature. They don't need to come to man. They don't need to. They can live on the grass. They can swat flies just fine. They can. No one goes out there and puts horseshoes on them. No one goes and gives them vaccinations. They don't need man. And in knowing that, when I invite them into the human element, that love has to be understood first and foremost. The intentions are read immediate because they are acutely aware of their surroundings. They have to think to survive. They understand law of cause and effect. You know, they understand the game of life. And when we look at why do we need to know the game, you know, we need to know how to not get hurt. We need to know how to benefit in the game. So a baby horse in the wild, he may poke his nose on a cactus 2 or 3 times, but he understands cause and effect. He's not going to continue to do that. Humans, on the other hand, we've got to have bumper rails for a long, long time. Domestication has created dependency on us to be shaped and molded by our parents first for a long period of time. School system, 12 years, you got to go to school. And then dependency on an employer for job, and then a dependency on governments is not really healthy. So wild horses teach us to depend on ourselves, think for ourselves, do for ourselves, become free, become a thriving, living being that promotes and contributes goodness to humanity, to earth, to nature. Uh, Wild horses help define purposes in people. I see it all the time. They come through here, they find their purpose, they find their passion, And society is not really willing to give that over to people. They have to find it, and they got to go inward with the focus of love and present outward what they expect, and then be willing to make changes and do it again. And then understanding these laws of nature, abiding in them, will prepare a person to have the most enriched life they ever want to create. I was fortunate to find this through horsemanship. I wrote a book about it so that people could kind of understand, well, what is the point of horses. A lot of people just look at them as a horse. You just get on them, ride them. There's so much more to it. A lot of my clients don't even ride their horses. They go on walks with their horses, and they have the most beautiful relationship I've ever seen. And that 80-year-old woman has a wild Mustang horse in Colorado that I helped her with, and she don't ride them, but they go on long nature walks together every day. It keeps her young and moving. There's so many health and wealth and happiness and relationship benefits through horsemanship that are undiscovered. And I think the key is laws of nature, understanding them, applying them, living in them, abiding in them. And there's going to be a lot of information. I feel we're in infancy stages of finding uh, a lot more keys to self-mastery, enlightenment, higher levels of consciousness. Because I I'm I think of myself in our schools creative monopoly. We're doing something that I don't know if anybody else is doing, because I can't find it. I had to go into the mountains of Colorado for 8 years to discover it. I didn't have outside distractions like society has. I didn't have a cell phone for 8 years. It
Wow.
didn't work. It didn't work out there. The internet was spotty
Mm.
at best, so didn't really rely on that. I went into the mountains with horses, and I got to think in quiet spaces for extended periods of time. And I got to observe myself in nature with a horse, a wild Mustang horse. And I got to operate at levels of consciousness that most people will never get to. And when I say most people, I'm talking billions of people will never
Mm.
get to.
Yeah. Wow. How did you live? I mean, the Mustangs can eat grass, but you have to live somehow when you're out there.
Yeah, it's probably more romantic than it really was. I built a house, and my wife and I, we built two homes actually, and I worked large ranches, management,
Hmm.
and for a job for income. We were subcontract, so I've always worked entrepreneurial since I got out of the military. But it was 35 miles from the closest town, so it takes about 45 minutes to go one way. And you go every couple of weeks to get supplies and groceries.
Yeah.
And it was just the outside influences that society puts on us people. I didn't have that. I didn't have to deal with that. So it was like a benefit of living out that remote. And I had my wife and my children, of course, but living in these laws of nature that I speak of, I didn't even know them. I didn't know this. I didn't know uh, how to apply them, but I discovered them through horsemanship. And we lived there 13 and a half years. And I got to abide in those laws. And now that I do study them and share them with other people, I learn them so that I can speak English to explain them. With horses, I can just do it. But teaching in a school setting another person to do it and take them from a place and transition them to another place in an efficient amount of time. I can't take them and do that 8 years in the mountains of Colorado, but I can speed it up a little bit by giving them the information that I learned in those 8 years without interactions with interruptions, I should say, and teach them something in a short amount of time they can apply right now through understanding how to explain it. And the laws of nature are the easiest way I've discovered how to explain horsemanship. Because mechanics of horsemanship, as far as training, that's about 5% of the overall relationship. It's about 95% mental, inner work, and understanding those laws of nature and applying them outward. So that's really been interesting as far as learning how to speak horse to people.
Yeah.
And the laws of nature make it really interesting to me and others, and clear to get somewhere faster than it took me, discovering them 8 years of not knowing these. And that's what I hope to help people with that are listening and trying to understand on a deeper level. Well, we need to study these laws of nature and apply them in our horsemanship daily, and then apply them away from the horse daily, because this will unlock this information to enrich lives, be a contribution to humanity that is so needed in our day and age.
Mm.
And the disconnections that have happened over the last couple hundred years, we've got to reconnect. And the only way I've discovered is to get with a horse and get in nature. And might as well understand the laws that you're going to be abiding in, because whether we're conscious of them or not, they're there.
Mm.
And
Right.
I'm living proof of that, because I was unconscious of a lot of these laws when I learned and discovered them with a wild horse. They are the greatest accountability partner for this. I had dogs all my life, most of it. You can do a lot of these things with dogs, but not as much as a horse, a prey animal horse that is thinking to survive, analyzing things in life and death. It's very serious. And what we do with them has a much more profound effect because of them being a prey animal and concerned about, which I think the strongest law of nature is self-preservation. And they're so concerned with self-preservation that it's very important. And it becomes obvious when a 1,000-pound horse has the ability to do what he thinks he needs to do to survive, regardless of what my little 167-pound man can do on the physical plane.
Mm-hmm.
But on that going inward and on that love plane, that higher level of consciousness plane, I'm so much more powerful in creating a relationship of wanting or willing in the horse. The horse is much more willing, and I won't say I can control a horse. I just won't say that, because I cannot. I've tried and tried and tried, and I have proven it to myself. I cannot force a horse to do anything. I can't. But I can create a relationship and communication so strong that I can get them to do anything. So it's just got to be understood. I'm attracting this horse to me to want to do it. I'm not forcing them to comply with what I want them to do. And that's the beautiful thing that gets revealed in understanding these laws of nature and abiding in them.
How does this school work? You have I can imagine you have horses. How many and which horses and how do you do it?
Okay, I'll have to summarize, but I have 9 horses. 5 of them are once wild Mustang horses, and 4 of them are domestic, what would be considered domestic. And the element, or we invite the horses into the human element. So I have 5 levels of communication with horses. And when a person comes into the school, I can assess what level they're at, generally talking with them, and then I'll pick a horse that would be most conducive to them learning and growing quicker, more efficiently. So I'll assign a horse to the person. A lot of times the person isn't even aware of what I'm doing, my part. I'm facilitating something that they don't really need to know so much in the beginning. So I'll join 2 people based on conversation with the person and the intimate relationship I have with my horses. I'll match them together. And then we go into level 1, which is grooming for mindset. And that's simply to teach the person how to go inward and assess, make an assessment of what they're thinking, what they're feeling, what their attitude is, what their actions are, at least what perception they have of that. And then just develop a conscious awareness of what that is and present to the horse. And generally, we're grooming the horse with a brush, fly spray, talking, breathing. Take a deep breath. Horse takes a deep breath, synchronizing inner pathway of communication and thought and emotion. I coach a person in understanding you're watching a horse, they're reflecting to you what they're thinking, and you want to understand that what you're thinking has vibration, has a frequency. What you're feeling and emotion has a vibration, has a frequency. This horse can hear your heartbeat 3 to 4 feet away. Your heart speeds up, your heart slows down. There is a definite difference in vibrational frequency the horse can pick up on. Just bring into their awareness that there's something much more than what they can see. And that's grooming for mindset is level 1. Now we go way more in depth than what I could share with you just on this podcast. But
Yeah, of course.
Level 2, we're going to advance into what I've labeled established communication. And that's where we're going to bring level 1 into level 2, and we're going to physically present outwardly to the horse and ask questions. And I designed what I call a 5-part series of questions. It's a series of 5 questions, mechanical questions, that I'll ask any and every horse to get a deeper understanding of that individual horse. It also allows that horse to get a deeper understanding of me or the person, the student. The beautiful thing about the 5-part series is it allows the person to get a deeper understanding of themselves, thought, emotion, attitude, action. What are these hands doing? What's the horse perceive me? So the horse also gets a deeper understanding of themselves in the human element. Because see, a wild horse, he's out there just fine. But when we bring him into the human element and we correctly invite him into this relationship, we have to be aware of what we're thinking, feeling, our attitude and action, and what we're presenting to the horse. And then how is this horse perceiving what I'm doing? Because what a person perceives about themselves and what the world perceives about them, we can break this down into a micro scale. Micro scale being me and the horse. How do I perceive myself? How does the horse perceive me? Macro scale, how do I perceive myself? How does the world perceive me? So see, horses help us understand ourselves in the micro with the horse. And then when we're away from the horse, we understand ourselves in the macro. So the big picture. So going back to level 2, I have 5 mechanical questions I'll ask the horse. And it's just simply a lead rope and halter. And it's simply applying a little pressure with the lead rope as far as a wiggle or a movement. And we start understanding on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being soft, light pressure, whisper, 10 being a lot, intense pressure, yelling. Do we want to go into this conversation on a 10 or do we want to go in it on a 1? Do we need to go in at a 1 and elevate the intensity of the question to a 2, 3, or 4? Well, I don't know until we start asking the individual horse, because I have one horse, he needs a 3 or a 4 to do what another one of my horses only needs a 1 or a 2. So we are discovering this individual. We're asking soft, quiet questions and increasing the intensity of the question to get the desired result. So as far as a backup, I'm asking the horse to back away from me. I'm revealing to the horse he has the ability to back away and tell me where he's most comfortable. You know, some wild horses are very stoic. Some domestic horses are very stoic. They don't reveal through their body, you know, what they're thinking as obvious as some horses. So I got to ask them to back away. And then I'll watch their body language. Do they take a deep breath and drop their head? They're like, oh, yes, I'm more comfortable at this distance from you. And that's where I want them to operate, where they're most comfortable in this conversation. Now I can make changes and create draw or an invite to come closer and maintain that level of comfort. But that's through time. That's through consistency of asking these questions. That's through law of repetition, you know, creating a habit over time, law of compensation. So when the horses reveal certain things, then I can help them much more efficiently and effectively in joining in this partnership willingly. But if I just caused a horse to stay with me, close to me all the time, restrain him with a lead rope and halter, force compliance, I won't get the truth. I won't get the horse to really learn and grow with me. It turns into I'm doing something to the horse, not for the horse. I'm doing something with the horse at all times. That's what I want. So the next question would be ask them to move their body to the left in a circle around me or move to the right. 2 and 3 are interchangeable. It don't matter. So question 1, back up. Question 2, move to the left or to the right. I want to see them move so they can tell me, are they frustrated? Are they scared? Are they racing around me mindlessly? Or are they walking calmly and quietly? I'm observing hoof to tail, nose to tail, hoof to ear. Said that wrong. I want to see their whole body because their body is what's telling me what they're thinking. Are their hooves close together? Is their stride really fast? Is their tail set high or low? Are they holding their breath and breathing short and shallow? Are they tense in the muscles? Are they moving freely? All of these things get revealed. Are they comfortable with me on their left side when I ask them to go to my left, exposing their body of their left side of their body to me? Are they comfortable with me there? Are they very distant? Are they real crowdy? All of these things get revealed in this establishing communication, gives the horse a voice. My intentions are not to race him around and run him till he's tired. I never do that, and I've never really done that ever. Even in the beginning, early days, I never understood why are we doing this. This just doesn't make sense to me. Why would I want to race him around, make him tired? I don't do that. So we could go off onto that trail too. But the fourth question is ask them to come forward. I don't want to grab the lead rope and pull them to me. I want to create an invitation to come here, come to me. Some of them say, no, I'm not willing to come to you. Well, then that's okay. I've got to become something I'm not. I've got to make a change and I got to create willingness in this horse to want to come with me, to me. And that takes time. I'm not going to force a horse to come to me. We're going to continue to grow and develop and learn together at their rate of learning. So in other words, I'm not going to try to teach a horse what I'm trying to teach them faster than they're capable of learning. I'm not going to throw so much information at them where it just overloads and then they can't, it's chaos. They can't think. So incrementally over time, we're going to create this relationship where they're harmony and balance, and they're in what I like to call flow. They're in the flow of things. You know, they're developing skills and experience, and they're overcoming challenges that are not too big too soon. So that fourth question of asking them come to me will give me the information. Do they even want to? Do they want to be with me? And then the fifth question is ground tie. It's a release of all pressures, mental and physical tension, and to breathe and be together. We're going to share space together. We're going to breathe together. We're going to observe one another in our truest rest state where no mental, no physical tension is applied, or very little. I mean, there's always an element of mental and physical tension when a once wild horse and a human are creating a relationship. I mean, just being is pressure. A wild horse may be in the mindset, I've got to run from this. Everything in my body is telling me to run away, but they're not. So that's okay. You know, that they're not running away. And then we're being together. They're self-regulating, we're self-regulating, and we're transferring information through vibrational frequency from one another, through thought, through emotion, through an attitude, through action. An action of rest, an action of just being is just as important as doing. So it's law of cause and effect. If you're in the cause of being, you're in the effect of sharing being. That is what is really important and is very highly overlooked in horsemanship. Out of all the places I've traveled and all the clinics I've given, that ground tie, the person sees me drop the rope and ground tie, they focus on ground tie. They're like, I love that. I want to do that. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a very beneficial piece, but it's just like if I was pointing at the moon and they're staring at my finger. The ground tie is just a piece of what's really happening. We're releasing all tension and mental and physical. We're going into rest state. The processes that we just did in a series of questions in the 5-part series are catching up. The benefits are being explored on the ground tie. That's why the horse wants to stay on ground tie. It's a benefit. You know, the true leader cares more about the one they're leading than being the leader. In horsemanship and the hierarchy of the wild horse herd, generally the leader is the most vulnerable. It's the one that is willing to step into a situation of vulnerability for the betterment of the herd. An example would be to go into a roaring river to get to the other side for the best grass. You know, and a lot of horses are scared to do it, but the vulnerable one will step into it and do it, and then the others follow that one. It's earned leadership. We earn it. But I will say this, the love is the key because love doesn't have to be earned. Love is free. Love is available. And horses realize when you ground tie and you just be, you're sharing in love. You're actually opening a vulnerability that they can see, they understand, and they get to partake in that together at that time. So that's one nutshell series of questions, and we may do 5 to 7 in a 30-minute period. 5 to 7 series of questions with a start as a backup, a stop as a ground tie. And then we add on to that. So maybe I got a wild horse that's never been touched and never had a rope on his face. Well, we go at liberty and do this. I'll ask them to back away. I'll ask them to go to my left, go to my right. I'll ask them to come to me, and then I'll try to get the first touch on them. And 5 to 7, 10 series of questions, I get the first touch. We're done. You know, day 5, we're riding off into the mountains. I mean, that's how fast this can happen. But I don't teach that piece to people like, hey, look how fast you can do this, because that's not the objective. That's just been a peripheral benefit of doing something so correct and so true and honest that it happens very quickly, where forcing compliance, people will complain, it's taking me months to get a saddle on this horse. Yeah, because you're not abiding in the laws of nature. You're not resonating with the horse in a higher consciousness where they know you love them and you're being kind to them. You're forcing compliance and you're getting frustrated, and they pick up on that too. And that causes resistance and rebellion and resentment in the long term. So the laws apply whether they're negative or positive, or whether a person is conscious or unconscious. These are true and they're honest, and the horses know it. And if we present them correctly, they come. If we present them incorrectly, they're so kind and willing for us to change and do it right, then they'll come. So it's just a win-win when we understand these laws of nature and live in them, abide in them, and apply them. Because when I'm on a horse's back, I am not his master. I am an observer and a guide as needed, and so are they. They are observers and guide as needed for me. My mind will drift away riding a horse. Horse will do something intentionally, sometimes subtly, sometimes obvious, to bring my mind back to them in this present moment and continue the feedback loop. When the outside distraction interrupts my thought patterns or processes, horse knows it. He understands thought vibration. We share in it. We shared in it from day one and level one. And when we get to level 5 of riding in the real world, they know that. So I jumped ahead just a little bit to explain where I'm going to level 3. So after level 2, establish communication. We've harmonized, which is agreement. We've breathed together. We've moved together. We've got to talk together. We understand each other on a level where now I'm going to ask if I can get on their back, transfer from the ground to their back in level 3. Basically, ask the same questions. I'm just in a different location. The willingness will either be obvious or not. And anytime I train, and I use that word with air quotes if you're not watching, train a horse. It seems so, to say I train a horse these days seems so wrong. It's they're training me is what it is. But whenever we create this relationship and I transfer from the ground to their back, it becomes much more acute. It becomes much more clear. It gets real. It gets very hyper sensitive in regard to transfer of energy. And energy is information. So what I think, what I feel, what my attitude is like, what I'm doing has much more effect than when I'm on the ground. When you transfer up to the back of a wild Mustang horse, they are highly aware of you on their back. Now, I may not be highly aware of me on their back, which they are there to guide me in becoming much more aware of what I'm thinking, feeling, attitude, action, and then the feedback loop. When that feedback loop is circular and flowing, it's not intermittent, distorted, it is flowing. There is a sense of harmony and balance that comes into the equation that is highly sought after by the horse and the person. It is highly recognized as flow state, where our skills, our experience, and our challenges pretty much are even across the plane. The challenges aren't too big. The skills aren't too low. You know, all of those are about even, equal, that flow state. Now, once we're in level 3, we can pay attention to what our hands are doing with the reins in communication. Pay attention to what our seat is doing in the saddle, what our legs are doing on the side of the horse, what our weight of our body being centered actually is. Are we off center, off center? All of those things come into account. Are we thinking clear thoughts, presenting in the moment, or are we thinking about the past? Are we thinking about the future? And it's not a good or a bad, it's an awareness. Some individual horses, I've got one, he commands my present thought, emotion, action, awareness 100% of the time. When at drift in thought, he feels the change in the vibrational frequency, and he starts thinking, oh man, I've got to do something here. Uh, I've got to make a decision. And then he calls me back, everything flows. If he does something subtle to call me back and I don't answer and I stay drifting, he does something he thinks he needs to do to survive, to get my attention, or to actually do what he thinks he needs to do to survive. And it may be a 180-degree turn and go the other way. He's like, I'm not going down the street, I'm going home. And then it brings me into an awareness of this present moment, that I was drifting off in thought and not in the moment with him. He is a Mustang that is acutely aware of his surroundings. He takes survival very serious. So level 3, transferring to their back, a lot more variables come into play, but we're bringing level 1 and 2 with us and practicing it just in a different location and communication with our horse. Level 4, we're going to increase challenge through man-made obstacles, riding the obstacle course in an arena, in a controlled environment. I have 5 obstacles, 5 representing transformation. We start with the infinity loop, which is to develop rein control, seat accountability, and leg control. And that's what we can control, is our thoughts and our actions. The hands and the feet and the timing and the rhythm are all developed in experiencing an obstacle, a challenge. So we develop a skill, we get some experience through time, and the challenge of the infinity loop, controlling our hands and reins and our legs and our body, become flow state. And then we go to the next obstacles and the next obstacles, which I won't go into all those because it takes time to explain all those. But the point is, level 4, we're developing a relationship of overcoming challenges together, applying different thoughts and actions to get desirable results, and openly being willing to make changes, and allowing the horse to have a voice rather than force compliance. We want to create willing compliance. We want to create curiosity in the horse, like, wow, we're communicating and we're accomplishing something I would never do out in the wild, not with a human. So I always observe the curiousness of a horse. I want them to, what is next? That's what I want the question to be, not, ow, you're hurting me. When are you going to hurt me again? Or, ow, I'm uncomfortable. When am I going to get comfort? I don't want that to be their thoughts. I want their thoughts to be curiosity, confidently, wanting, willing, and achieving, learning and growing together with me. Once we've done that, then we do level 5, which I call real world riding, real world focused riding, because we focus on that feedback loop that we've built in level 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we take it into the real world and we basically test it. We're exploring Earth. We're going wherever we want to go. We want to go into town. We want to go into the mountains. We want to ride on the beach. We want to go do an event, a trail challenge, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. The purpose is, I've got a feedback loop with my horse that we've developed. Outside influences are going to come. What is my awareness, conscious awareness level, to where I can maintain this circular feedback loop with my horse through thought, emotion, attitude, action, maintain that regardless of the situation that arises, the circumstance we find ourselves in, or the outside influences that are and will come, and maintain that feedback loop. When we can do that and develop that, we have an ability or a skill of awareness and enlightenment. I'll even go there. When you read my book, there's a horse that I developed this with that not developed it to that extreme with other horses, or to that level, I should say, to where you go into something so strong, so powerful, with such ease that you can maintain that feedback loop regardless of outside influences, But even when the outside influences come, you're aware of them, and they're just met with love, with you and your horse, to where fears that traditional horse training practices contend with, they're non-existent for us. Um, I don't know if you know much about the equipment that I use for communicating with horse, but I use bitless bridle, no spurs, no whips, no forced submission, no pain. Um, so the horses at that level of 5, they don't fear me. They don't fear that I'm going to cause them any pain or hurt them in any way. They look to me for guidance when they are uncomfortable, because I've consistently and repetitively got them comfortable when they weren't. So if an outside influence has some sort of an effect on my horse and I recognize it, I trigger body responsive relaxation in them to draw them to me. Like in that 4th question of 5-part series, come to me. It's the safest place on the planet in the human element. I will help you be comfortable when you're not. And in that level, that 5th question, ground tie, relax, release your mental tension, physical tension, allow things to simmer down, settle down, balance out, and then we go again. Well, in level 5, I can do that same thing regardless of outside influence. So people like to focus on the outside influence. So they'll focus on the trash truck, or they'll focus on the bear, or they'll focus on the deer. They'll focus on something outside of themselves, which just took all their present moment energy away from them, their feedback loop. And then they just directed their attention to the outside influence, which directs their horse to the same thing that they're trying to avoid. So in saying that, I never focus on the obstacle in level 4. The feedback loop is what I focus on. You know, the infinity loop of the barrels doing our rein control and our leg control. Yeah, that's great. But what I'm focusing on is the feedback loop, not the barrels. I don't care how great he turns around the barrels. I don't care if the pattern is perfectly performed. What I do care about is how long I can maintain this feedback loop without an outside influence interrupting it. And that's the toughest thing people have in life, is they focus on what they don't want. I'll give you an example. One of my students the other day is trying to learn the infinity loop on the 2 barrels. And basically it's 2 barrels and you do an infinity loop in a figure 8. It develops rein control, leg control, and you're developing your feedback loop with your horse, your thought, emotion, attitude, action, timing, rhythm. The mechanical piece of it's very, very small, and that's what we're really doing. But one of my horses started drawing to me. Well, the lady said with her mouth, "Don't go to Justin." And I cautioned her, like, "Hey, you're actually directing your attention to me by saying don't go to me."
Mm.
And then it hit her. She's like, "Yeah, you're right. That's why he kept doing it." I said, "Put your focus on him and asking him the correct question to accomplish what it is you want to do,
Mm.
and maintain that feedback loop without me being the outside influence interrupting that." So in anything that we do with our horses, we're focusing on ourselves and our horses, regardless of outside influence. Not to say we're not aware of them, and they will interrupt by just becoming aware of it, but maintain that feedback loop is the most important thing. And man, I feel like I'm rambling, Ann. Let you get a word in.
No, it's great. It's great. I just want to ask you how long time is this going on? If I come to your school and say, please educate me, how long time will this take?
That is a very good question, and it's an easy answer. It takes the time it takes, and that
Yeah.
sounds like a cop out, but what it is, different people are at different levels of understanding, different traumas, different perspectives, different perceptions. the quicker one can align themselves in those laws of nature, the quicker results will come. Now, I caution people that it's not overnight. It's self-discovery, self-mastery is gradual. Developing a horsemanship or a relationship with horses is gradual. It's not forced, it's not taken. Now, to give you a time, in a time that we would understand, um, the first 15 to 17 hours of interaction going in with this mindset, with this information, meaning laws of nature, and an understanding of perspective and a perception, it is so very quick as far as time. And I gauge the quick by transformation. When a person is in this state and they transition over to this state, that's transformation. So in 15 to 17 hours, I see transformation. So that would be the quickest analogy I could give you or explanation I could give you in the time that it takes for something to happen. Uh, I've had people come that I'll just call it a level. They were at a level of understanding that was very restrictive, but they're artificial barriers in their own mind and had applied those artificial barriers in their body that slowed it down as far as the transformation. Because they were operating in that for a long period of time. So to undo that and to redo, realign, took more time than if a person wasn't operating in that for very long. So I'll give you an example. A lady that came, she had cancer, uh, chaotic relationship with her horse at best. The horse was on the end of a lead rope flying around like a kite. And that transformation probably took about 3 months, probably 3 times a week, 6 hours a week. I haven't done the math and I don't like mathing out loud, but that transformation took longer than, say, someone that didn't have cancer did and had a good relationship with her horse, or maybe not even a relationship with a horse. They were fertile ground because I didn't have to undo misconceptions or misperceptions and going in this way. So it's really tough because it's on an individual case by case basis as far as how long does it take. The individual is their only limitation, really. So, in a nutshell, 30 to 60 hours of instruction I've seen over the whole big arching picture, total transformation and understanding, and having developed a skill in these laws of nature and playing in the micro scale of horses, have some peripheral benefits in their real life away from a horse, with their relationships with their wife, their children, uh, their struggle in alcoholism, their struggle in smoking cigarettes, it goes away. They can actually have developed a skill and some experience with a horse to develop a discovery within themselves, a mastery within themselves to see peripheral benefits out in their society, real life, real world focused life that they can apply for an effective life enriching change and continue it for long-term sustainability. So I would say between 30 and 60 hours of coming to this school, you will see transformation and apply it and benefit from it. So that's probably the best answer. I know that was a long way to say that, but there's just so many variables that it's not like a cookie cutter, one size fits all. Come do this, 5 minutes later, you're good. It's not that, and nor would I want it to be, because I would get bored and I would move on to something else.
That's right. You were mentioning a book you have been writing.
Yeah,
And,
I wrote this book a year ago, and I don't know if it's mirrored wrong, but it's called A Horse
I
to
can see
Guide.
it. Yes.
Okay. A Horse to Guide Me. And in the book, I explain what we've been talking about, and to give a better understanding that a person can actually think and do things to become something else. And they can consciously take that into account and create the life they want. And horsemanship has just been a way I've been able to streamline it for myself and watched other people as well. So, we've done a lot of different things with children and adults. Uh, I did a camp for children with cancer for 6 years. I got to see what horses can do for children that are struggling with an illness, and that I couldn't train the horse to do.
Mm.
But understanding that love piece and implementing that into every aspect of our horsemanship, our horse-human relationship, that's recognized. And that word love is probably thrown around a lot, but when you abide in those laws of nature, that is showing yourself and the horse that love is the highest order, is the most important piece to the horsemanship, to humanship, human to human.
Mm.
Everyone wants to be loved, so we have to present what we expect.
That's right. That's right.
And the book is definitely a handbook or a guide for people that have never heard information like this,
Mm.
never applied it in horsemanship or in their life. And the feedback I'm getting from the book is really well. I don't do any marketing for the book other than this right here, because I wanted it to grow organically.
Mm.
I didn't want to throw a bunch of money at marketing it and putting it out there in a manner that's like, for ill intents and purposes. I wanted it to be, the person that gets this book needed to get this book.
Mm.
That's what I want. And it's working really well. And thank you for giving me a platform to share the book with your followers.
Yeah, thank you. And where can people get in touch with you if you want
Well,
to buy the book or want to hear more?
the best place is my website, and that's AmericanMustangSchool.com. I'm also on Facebook, but I don't do much on Facebook as far as that. Um, the book's on Amazon. You can look in Amazon. It's on other ones too, but I forget what they're called. Goodreads, I think. And I just started doing more content contribution on YouTube,
Hmm.
and it's American Mustang School on YouTube.
Yeah.
And today, I'm really focusing on sharing information with people that need it the most. Um, the one thing about it is I get to do something now in flow. I don't have to force it. I don't feel I'm obligated. I get to create things with horses and people. So, in other words, I get to work on what I want, when I want, with who I want. And that is
That's
freedom.
great. Yeah.
And that to me is freedom. So, yesterday I made a YouTube video, took about an hour. I'm not editing because I'm not very good at it. And I just put it out there uncut on YouTube. And I don't really care about millions of subscribers and all those things, but I've noticed the doing it in this manner, just putting it out there, sharing it with people like you, and the people that truly want this information and want to apply it to their lives, their horsemanship, or just their lives, they're coming.
Yeah.
And it's organically growing. I got a little 570 subscribers, so I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm sharing. And it feels so much better to share what I want to share, not what I think people want to hear. I just want to share this because I'm fascinated by it and I know it works.
Yeah, that was a lot of information and very, very exciting. Time is running, so I will thank you so much for coming today. It has been very, very interesting, and I have also learned a lot today. So thank you for coming, and hope I will see you again. Yeah,
Well,
maybe
thank you,
later.
Anne. There's so much to talk about.
Yeah,
If you want to do it again, I'll happily do it again. Just let me know.
sounds great. And thank you so much for you out there to that you have been listening and seeing this podcast. So please subscribe so we can get on with this and get a lot of people to know about our work. So thank you so much for coming today, and have a great day.
Thank you, Anne.